most important step, even though it is one of the most time-consuming steps, is that by communicating, you kind of get what the client actually wants on being there, and then okay on being in front of a camera. And the third one, I think this is probably the most important element in the video, is the music. And like I said in the previously, if you communicate more, you'll probably know exactly what the client wants. And lucky because the inside of the shop was very well lit, and I was Prime, which is a 35mm 1.4 G Master, just in case if I needed, but I didn't. So for the whole shoot, I used the 24-70. And for the filter, I did use a Nisi Black 8. And the reason why I used it was because there was a lot of lighting, and I kind of want this way. So I couldn't really do that. I think the only shot that I shot to pull, barbers in one of the clips. And everything else, it was 35 or close to 70. And getting the angles and stuff like that, most of the time I didn't tell them what was like in the beginning when they were like picking up scissors or something that is a little bit more uncommon, that I can't really get it if I'm just like not prepared. So those kind of shots, I actually asked them to do it in front of me. And also faces. And I tried to use like around 70mm and then shoot from bottom up. There's two reasons why I did that. One of the reasons is if I are confident in cutting their hair and stuff, I don't want to include in my footage because it just kind of was distracting. So that was important. And I tried to make the video a little bit more interesting by changing the flow of the video. So if you guys remember when the climax hit, I kind of went with a little bit more shorter cuts, and I actually did put in like a little bit of a camera shake to knew what I wanted to get. And while I was shooting it, I was kind of having all that sequence in my mind. So everything went super smooth, the music, the cut, and yeah. And when I gave the product to the client,